there was a character in Hook named Rufio, the leader of the Lost Boys. And I remember at the end of the movie, my mom said, "Oh, that boy in the movie was Filipino." And I was 6 years old, and I knew that my parents and my family were Filipino as well. But even at 6 years old, I was like, that can't be true, because there's no such thing as Filipinos in movies, right? That was the mentality that I had, even at that young of an age, right? I knew that seeing a Filipino American on a big screen was something like a big deal, right? And honestly, as I've grown up and gone to college and been involved in the Filipino American community, I have seen this man who I'm about to bring out everywhere. This man was a speaker when I was in college. This man has been at every Filipino American, Asian American community gathering that I have ever been to, seemingly, right? This person has made a career on the big screen, but also made a career out of representing for his communities. And I am so happy as a student affairs practitioner to bring him here for y'all tonight. I can't tell you what the staff of the ARC has felt in these last few months as we've been promoting this event and seeing staff, faculty, and students all shaking their boots when we tell them he's coming, right? I'm seeing some people shaking right now. Y'all know who you are. Yes, we're here to listen to this man speak, tell us about his experiences. There will be time for Q&A after. So once again, thank you all very much for coming. I will right now pass the microphone to our guest for the evening. Let's give a lovely Purdue welcome to Mr. Dante Basco.
Even when I'm not spoken to, my goal is hopefully to have broken through the barriers between what is true and what is make-believe, because the truth in the poems that I make, it makes you see things more clearly. Constantly questioning, can you hear me? Knowing at my best, politicians fear me. Talk ticks, do you feel me? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Sometimes I gotta scream and shout to get my point across, but the only way to find the right way is to first realize you're lost. This poetry is painful, looking for the rainbow. Yet I share my most private, quiet conversations and tell my stories with poetic exaggeration. I am the poet, the poet, poet, poet. Yo, I'm the poet. I'm a poet. I'm a writer, an actor, a producer. I'm the leader of the Lost Boys. I'm the Mac Daddy Dragon of the NYC. And some of you out there might know me as the misunderstood Prince of the Fire Nation. How y'all doing? I'm Dante Basco. Wow. It's good to see you guys. I've been walking around your campus all day long, and I'm so excited to be here with ARC. Thank you for bringing me out, and the LGBTQ Culture Center for bringing me out and having me here tonight for this discussion and this talk. I'm here to tell you, just talk about my life experience in Hollywood, and just, you know, we'll get into the whole, what everything means, and answer your questions. It's a little fun, a little story of my life. I'll be doing poems throughout the evening, so let's just start at the beginning. I've been an actor now for a long time. I'm looking around the room how old everybody is. I've been an actor for longer than I'd say at least 95% of the room has been alive, maybe more. I've been an actor for over 30 years, which is crazy, which a lot of y'all are not nowhere near 30. And I started my career at the very ground level of the entertainment industry. Does anybody know what the ground level of the entertainment industry is? Ground level, yes.
Commercials.
Lower than that. Radio, no, lower than that. For me, theater, lower than that. The ground, not even lower than school play. The ground level for me and for my brothers was the actual ground, was the street. Me and my brothers were breakdancers in the streets of San Francisco and Berkeley, Pier 39 in San Francisco, Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley. We were street performers. We were the kids in the street with the boombox, cardboard box, out. Boombox going, hat in the front, doing routines. Plus, we're Filipino, so we did it in the living room too. But that spilled out into the streets, and we were a crew called the Street Freaks, and we became one of the, I'd like to think it was one of the baddest crews in the 80s in the Bay Area, and we toured around the whole Bay, and my mother did the stats for us one year, and we won, on the weekends, we won 33 breakdancing competitions. Ended up getting picked up by the Oakland A's to do 7th inning, 4th inning, and 7th inning shows for the Oakland A's. Did halftime shows for for the San Francisco 49ers. So real Bay Area boys, and then we got scholarships. We got picked up by the San Francisco Ballet Company. We started studying ballet. We did the Nutcracker with the San Francisco Ballet Company, had scholarships. It got to that point where so much was going on for us in the Bay Area. My mother was like, do you guys want to go to LA and extensively go from being a big fish in a small pond into being a small fish in the ocean of Hollywood? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So we moved to LA, and at that time, I had just turned 10 when we got to LA, and so the world changed from there on out. So all the stuff I just told you happened before the age of 10, and then 10 on is my Hollywood life. So when I got to LA, we moved to a town called Paramount, which is right next to Compton, Black and Latino neighborhood, and I grew up there, and I guess we'll just do this poem. It's called Where You From? Where are you from? Well, that's a loaded question. See, I grew up in a blue-collar town, simply meaning the blacks and the browns, and me being of that category, plus my pops made less than 40. G's a year, it's clear to see that me, I be, well, blue-collar. Better yet, broke most of the time, even better, poor. But when you're young and you're poor, you don't know that you're poor. It never occurs to you that you don't have a bed, everyone sleeps on the floor. 13 in a house, 1 bathroom, someone always knocking on the door. At least it was fun. Let's get back to where we started. Where are you from? See, where I'm from, there are cops and there are gangsters, also known as gangbangers. Not unlike the cops and robbers of the movies, but unlike the movies, it's not so black and white. There are areas of gray, and that is to say it's hard to distinguish the difference between being pulled over by a cop or being hit up by a gangster. Both evoke a bit of pain in the pit of your stomach. I think it's anger masked by shame. Maybe I get ahead of myself. Let me explain. Followed by a cop. Follow 6 blocks. Pulled over by the cop, he looks at you as if you are a mark. Where are you from? He does not wait for you to reply until he accuses you as you deny. You're from the east side. No, sir, bow your head, don't look him in the eyes. It's embarrassing sitting on the curb watching the cars drive by, but being where I'm from, that's just another part of my life. Now, when it comes to the gangbanger, all you got to be is a stranger. When he asks you where you from, you can feel it laced with danger. So watch what you say next, because you're playing with death. So don't claim the east, don't claim the west. Matter of fact, same rules apply. Bow your head, don't look in the eyes. I ain't from nowhere, man. I'm just some guy. See, he too sees you as a mark. But they don't really see you, your face or your heart. All they see are marks. Now, me being me, I got a few tricks up my sleeves. Messed up situations, I've gotten out of a few of those by simply picking my nose. That's right, picking my nose. Check it out. When the cop pulls up, I can feel the heat in his eyes, or Monte Carlo filled with gangsters pulls up next to my side. I pretend I don't see them, and I casually try to pick a booger from my nose. And for a second, just a moment, I'm exposed. To be a man, not a mark, a human being just like you. Don't lie, you got boogers too. And the cop, he just continues to roll down the street, and the gangsters, well, they just laugh, and then they just leave. Sometimes when you see a little bit of yourself in someone else, it can set you free. And the funny thing is, I'm probably from where they're from. The other side of town, and I'm just trying to get home. Yes, so I grew up in a very blue-collar town, and me and my brothers were these breakdancers that got into acting. We were very successful as dancers, and as soon as we got to Hollywood, we realized that Hollywood's a town of actors, a town of movie making, and we immediately got into classes and we studied in conservatory, which started then when I was 10 and went on for 20 years. So I studied consistently for 20 years while I was working. And it's one of those kind of stories, you know, where you audition for something and I book the first thing I auditioned for and then I'm off running. And I did have a bit of luck and fortune for that to happen. The crazy thing about my career, as I talk to students now about, you talk about your career and why are you talking about your career? I go, well, the craziest thing about my career is I'm a Filipino actor. I'm Asian American, Filipino American. I'm in a town in Hollywood, which is arguably one of the hardest industries in the country, if not the world, to not only work in, but to thrive and succeed in. And I'm an actor where there's exactly 0 Filipino roles in Hollywood. There was 0 Filipino roles in Hollywood when I got there, yet I was able to, and I'm still able to work and flourish and prosper in one of the hardest industries in the world. How is that possible? I know there's a lot of engineers out here that you guys know numbers and stuff like that. It's not good statistics. Very bad statistics. And so, my story, or who I am, like many people that will come and talk to you, do keynotes over the years, is really overcoming adversity, I guess, you know? And I didn't necessarily think of it as adversity. So, I continue my career and I get to do various movies that we've kind of touched on. And during the Q&A process, I mean, you guys are definitely free to ask any questions from doing movies like Hook, or movies like Take the Lead with Antonio Banderas, or doing shows like Jake Long, the American Dragon, or doing shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I guess I do write for my social media. I write fun poems for that too. I'll give you quick fun ones about that. It's like for Rufio, right? You're like straight out of Neverland. Captain Hook lost boys in the Peter Pan. We're all grown ups are pirates and we kill pirates. But I don't need no gun because I'm a sword fighter. Have fun all day and we play games. But if it's gonna go down, then I'm bang-a-rang, bang-a-rang, bang-a-rang. And then for the Avatar heads, it's like this. A poem called Honor, or something lost from this place. Etched into your consciousness like a scar upon your face. This honor that you chase isn't always what you thought. Matter of fact, the fact that you always had is the very reason why you set out to prove its existence from the start. Toph Bay Fong, she moves found tons, so small yet so strong. Next time I go on a life-changing adventure, you're invited to come along. A poem for my friend, who doesn't even bend, but his heart's as big as the rest of them. Plus, he always has my back, makes me laugh because he's funny, and when his girlfriend turned into the moon, all I can say is, that's rough, buddy. And then one for the girl. I don't know if y'all share this or not, but whatever. Sometimes the feeling of what could have been is so much stronger than what actually happened because the memory of perfection lasts longer. And even though we didn't end up together, it'll never change the fact that you changed my life forever. Sutara. Thank you. For the people that got it. The other people are like, I don't know what he's talking about. It's fun to it's fun for me now to kind of have fun with my career and be able to talk to, especially college students, and just kind of just see what it meant to you. You know, these things meant to you means a lot to me now. So throughout my career, as I said, I was an Asian American actor working in this industry, and I'm not ever once, thinking I'm this Asian American actor. You're just an actor. It's so hard, right, to be an actor in the industry. It's so hard to be any kind of actor in the industry. When you come to Hollywood, is there any artists here? Any actors? Any actors? Okay, awesome. And I hate to give you the bad stats, but just to come to Hollywood and to book a job, you're like 1.5 million to 1. Like, just get here and do that. And not to scare you, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at you too, not to scare you. Still come. And imagine this is the deal when I came to Hollywood. I'd walk in a room and they're like, what are you? I'm like, I'm Filipino. They're like, what's that? Which is crazy because no one knew what anything was, right? So half my resume is Mexican and Puerto Rican roles, and the other half is like every other Asian but Filipino because they just don't know what a Filipino is. And I would go in and I'd go, well, what kind of role is this? And they're like, oh, this is a Chinese role. And I'm like, well, my grandmother, on my dad's side, you know, she's part Chinese. They're like, okay, read. And you go book that role. And they're like, well, this is a Mexican role. You're like, you know, Filipinos are Latino. We got colonized also by the Spaniards. They're like, oh, y'all like Mexicans? Yes. Okay. So then you go book those roles. There's a hustle to it, y'all. There's a hustle to it. But now, consequently, as you're working, you just work. You know, I got to work so much over the last 30 years and continue to work. And not just act, now I also write and produce and create opportunities, and we'll talk about it later on for new artists. But as you're working, you're just concentrated on working, right? I'm just a kid working. You don't know how this is all landing on people. You have no clue. You're just happy to, you know, in my case, help pay the bills for the house and buy things for yourself. You know, cool clothes, a bicycle, whatever, you know, just floss a little bit. But then things start happening, right? As I grow up and you meet someone and there's like a girl comes up to you and she's like, oh my God, like, you're the reason why I date Asian guys. Like, what? Well, or an interracial couple come to me and the guy comes to the Asian guy, it's an interracial couple, and he's like, yo man, my girl had a big crush on you growing up. I'm like, all right. He goes, I know for sure you're one of the reasons why she married me. And I'm like, you're welcome. But these are like trivial, weird things, but things happen, right? So in the 90s when I was coming up, or the 2000s, early 2000s, right? So I'll always get stopped by a young cat, any cat, I mean, whether Asian or not, going, you're the first cool Asian I ever saw on film, ever. I'm like, oh wow. This is what Hollywood does as media people. You know, we're living in a room, it's very multicultural in the room. In the 80s and 90s, when you did not know, you don't really know other Asians, and you really are influenced by film and television, and like it or not, as intelligent as we are, you're going to judge whole communities by narrow stereotypes that are depicted in films and television. And then I came along and I was able to help open the eyes of what is possible, what it possible is to be an Asian American Pacific Islander in America, just a little wider than I was doing. So Rufio is the leader of a gang of multicultural kids, and this kid's not white. He's actually, no one knew what I was when I came. They were like, you're ethnically ambiguous. It's like anything, everyone was like, yeah, he's a little bit of that. But like when I got into Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? And I'm working with Will Smith and them, and I'm playing Ashley's boyfriend, but I'm the dumb jock. And they're like, oh my God, this Asian kid, who usually Asians, we all know on TV, play the nerdy, intellectual kids. Now he comes on Fresh Prince and he's playing the dumb jock. How does that work? But I've been able to kind of help open the eyes of what is possible for who Asian Americans are. And it's been a very kind of thing that I didn't even mean to do. But as I've kind of grown older, it's become a very important part of what's been going on in my career and thrust into how I see things going on from here on out. So I'll do some more poems. Here it goes. Talking about identity. We'll talk a little bit more identity after this. So this is like a conglomerate of poems put together called I don't know what they call it. I should remember when, like, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill came out. I was like, this is the history lesson of Dante Basco. Thoughts swim around my mind. Thoughts swim around my mind. Now ask yourself, who's this kid that stands before me? Hope he doesn't bore me. Quick, stick him in another category. Well, shit. He really doesn't fit in any. Brown like a copper penny, yet with Asiatic eyes. I see to my surprise, he's got a black nose. But on the real, I'm a Filipino. And to break it down for the still, I will tell you I descend from an island where the natives run around nearly naked, named Negritos. Translation, little black men. Black as their shadows in the glorious sun. But then came a Chinaman, maybe it was Japan, who mixed in the Asiatic blood. Drip, drop, drip, rips my tribal. Here comes the Bible of a man from Spain who left me with a Spanish name from a little conquered island. That's from where I came. Confused, I questioned, yet I wound up here where I found joy. Recognize I am a brown boy in America. Place where you are judged by the color of your skin. Black, white, here I am, standing on the land of another brown man. Now that's irony that I can see. Thoughts swim around my mind. You got to keep me time on this. Thoughts swim around my mind, but my grandpop says just throw your line and fish. And when I say I'm fishing, it means I'm searching for a deeper meaning, a stronger feeling, realizing everything I'm seeing isn't what it's seeming. The word wants to live in the religion I was raised on now raises questions. Question everything they tell you. Don't buy everything they try to sell you. Promises of heaven, what's it's like to live in hell through. And me, I'm here to tell you that the religion that they want me to believe in got me subconsciously accepting before I was saved by their Jesus Christ. I was a heathen. Me and the Africans and Indians and Mexicans and Dominicans and the Koreans and all the other Asians and somewhere in the back of my mind, I can never do that because somewhere in the back of my mind I have to hate myself forever because I know I never look like their God, but God, I ain't mad at you because God, I know the truth. I am you. Like you are me. Like I am them. Like they are us. Like yo, this is who we are. See, some speak of the revolution, they say it won't be televised, and they're right, because the revolution's going on. It's a revolution of the mind. And this revolution is not a black or white thing or in between the rich and poor. It's those who are awake and those who are asleep. And this is a wake-up call. So wake up, y'all, before we fall. Wake up, y'all. Wake up, Uncle Sam. You're a relative of mine, but your wife is a hoe. You beat her and cheated, though, and I fear you may murder her. And furthermore, you and I live in a time of no good guys asking what I consider. Your friends look at people of color and shh. I'm like, F the police. Furthermore, F this country. Do you know how it feels to live young and hungry and angry? People looking at me like they want to hang me. Why do you make me want to elevate above you? You make me hate you when I should love you. Because when you break it down like the biology, I see that we're the same, and that's the God in me, the God in me, the God in me. Pardon me, the God in us. In God we trust. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Thank you. Yeah, so poetry. I started writing poems. I just did a poetry workshop before this. I started writing poems years ago, and I started a poetry venue in my living room 23 years ago during the whole 90s and the whole poetry scene started popping off. And it was just a place for me and my friends to get together and kind of like digest our lives and write poems. And me and my friends happened to become really just good poets in LA. And the poetry venue grew, and it grew from my living room to a local sandwich shop, outgrew the local sandwich shop to the small theater, outgrew that theater to a bigger theater, it ended up becoming Inspiration, which became Deaf Poetry Jam on HBO and on Broadway. And then now, every Tuesday night, still for the last 23 years, DPL, the Poetry Lounge, is now the largest weekly open mic venue in the world. So these things happen. And so I'm here sharing poems with you. So as my career continues now, beyond doing my own work as an artist, as an actor, I've also moved to writing and producing. I started a company called Kinetic Films in Hawaii that does Asian American Pacific Islander films. And it got to a place where I'm trying to help create opportunity for the next generation of artists, and especially for Asian American artists, because in this times now we need these voices, all these niche voices, Latino voices, African American voices, LGBTQ voices, these niche audiences, they all our voices matter. Continuing film and television, of course, white American voices are always a part of it. All of our voices do matter, but we created this new, I called a meeting like 3 years ago. And I had this I don't know why I'm old enough to call a meeting. I don't know. I called this meeting, and I did call a meeting. I don't even know what, something happened, and I was like, yo, we need to meet about this. And so about a dozen of the biggest Asian American YouTubers came, including like Kev Jumba and Tim Delichetto and JK Films and all these cats, AJ Raphael, and then collectively like over 1 billion views, right? And then about a dozen of my friends are like executives and directors and writers, Asian American cats came to this meeting also. And the first question I posed after them was, why are we, as the quote unquote Asian American, the most affluent ethnic community in America, why are we the most affluent ethnic community in America but the least represented in mainstream media? And what are we gonna do about it? Like, us in the room. We are some of the most successful Asian American creatives in this room. What are we gonna do about it? And it got in this whole crazy conversation about what we're gonna do. First of all, there's two things that happened. Showed us there's a big divide. I look at this generation, I look at you guys, and it's so awesome to see this whole new digital generation. It's really your time. I'm so excited when I come and talk to colleges because I look at this next generation. I was talking a little bit at the LGBTQ place earlier about how it's really you guys' time. When I brought these two groups together, I saw a gap in the generations, maybe the largest gap between the traditional media generation and the digital media generation, as probably hasn't been this big gap since the baby boomers and before them. And the world has changed. You guys, we realize that you guys are inheriting at least Hollywood and probably every other industry way faster than we thought. Like my generation thought we were gonna inherit a whole industry. And what we realize is, no, no, we're gonna work for you guys. Like, we're gonna work for you guys like now. And it's something that you guys should know as students coming out right now. The world has changed. You guys are getting the keys to this whole thing earlier than any of us thought you were gonna get it. And it scares a lot of people from our generation. The world's changed. The world has friggin' changed and you guys own it. But my generation, the gap generation, to kind of bring it together. And I'm super excited by it. I'll tell you one story about how that happened, how I know it changed, right? I'm creative consulting for a company. And the guy wants to, their media, we need a scale on Snapchat, right? I want to scale on Snapchat and YouTube, and I'm like, you listen to the corporation guy's talking, you're like, a few minutes into it, like, oh, you're never gonna do it. I'm like, that's not gonna happen, you can't do that. Like, what? I'm like, you're never gonna scale on Snapchat. He's like, why not? I'm like, you don't know what it is. He's like, what? I said, you don't know Snapchat, but you know what YouTube is. You don't know what it is. You don't use it. You're never gonna scale it. He goes, what do you mean? I go, you wanna create media for these new platforms, right? I said, you don't use these platforms. I go, you understand that when you guys are watching these things and commenting and sharing them, I said, you think it's a television, but I said it's less of a television and more of a telephone. Every time they watch something and they share it, they comment, they're saying something to the rest of the world. They're communicating. I said, try putting a commercial on a telephone. What do you think what's gonna happen? He's like, what? The guy's eyes like went through his head. He's like, and you're watching these older guys go, oh my God, these kids own this world, and we don't even know. We don't know what we're doing. So that's my excitement about what's going on. You guys are doing so many things innately, and without even knowing what you're doing. It's so fluid. The world's so fluid right now. You guys are communicating at a faster rate than we ever thought possible. But I just have this one caveat that I put out to you guys. I go, from our generation, there's so much that we're learning from you guys right now. And I'm working with a lot of young YouTube artists and a lot of young 20-somethings, and we're creating new media, and we're learning. You guys are so much, I talk to young YouTubers, I go, you're so much more engaged with the audience than we've ever been, right? You take someone like a Scorsese or someone, a big director, and he does a movie, and you go, how many reviews do you think he read? Even the biggest movies, Michael Bay, he may read 20 reviews from across the country. I said, a YouTuber puts out a video, he has 10,000 reviews daily, hourly maybe, that he sees. That kind of engagement we've never had before. So there's so much we can learn from you. But I tell you, there's so much more still to learn from our generation. In the world of acting and the world of media making, craftsmanship, it's still there. There's this bridge still has to go back and forth, even though you guys are getting the keys away earlier. There's so much acting. The art of acting hasn't changed. The art of writing hasn't changed. The art of producing hasn't changed. Well, it has changed. Producing's changed a little bit. A lot. But the communication lines have to stay open, and this communication has to go back and forth. So, we're going. I think people, you guys have any questions coming up? I want you to start thinking about some questions. And my whole career is up for like discussion, you know? Because if you have a question, come to the microphone. What's your name, man?
Name's Jairus.
What's up, Jairus?
I have a very, very important question.
Please.
I think anybody who knows you as Prince Zuko has had this question, probably. Be perfectly honest, what did you think of the live action?
Jairus, that's the first question that comes out right now? When I tour the country, we do Comic-Cons, you know, we do a lot of stuff, especially for Avatar. We have a lot of panels about Avatar. And I always refer to that movie as the Voldemort movie. That's the movie that shall not be named. And you bring it up. The reality is, I never saw the film. I never saw the film.
Don't watch it. Don't bother.
I never saw the film. Mike and Brian, the creators of Avatar, told me not to. But I will eventually. I'm actually rewatching the whole. I'm actually watching for the first time in its complete kind of in sequence the whole series of Avatar and Korra on my Twitch channel right now, and I'm watching with a bunch of fans, and so you can come and join us. And it's really exciting. It's fun for me to kind of revisit everything. And then maybe I'll watch the live action with everybody too. Don't do it? But even with everybody, we'll like a thousand people will all watch it together.
No.
Play a drinking game. We'll play a drinking game. But, you know, in defense of M. Night Shyamalan, who I am a fan of, even though he had some dries, whatever. It obviously it missed for a lot of people. I like to remind you guys that it is not easy to make a really good film. It's really not. It's hard to make a good film. Even something you would think is as easy as Avatar because it's all there in cartoons, but it's not. Because I can prove to you that it's not. I would just challenge everyone to think of, out of all the movies you saw last year, how many were actually really good. And you'll probably go like, yeah, right, not many. So we'll cut them a little slack, but I haven't seen it. I'll watch it though.
One thing that actually I thought was interesting about that movie relates to what you were talking about diversity and about stereotypes in media, is that the villains in the movie, or at least the people who are seen to be the villains, the Fire Nation, they're actually, a lot of the actors are Indian in the live action movie, but Katara and Sokka, who are in the cartoon, they're not white. They're sort of a conglomerate nationality that exists only in that universe. But they're totally white in the movie. It seems like they sort of whitewashed all of the good guys, but they left the bad guys ethnically diverse.
That's very Hollywood. Very Hollywood. People ask me about that, and I kind of held my tongue the whole time, and then I wrote a blog about it. I don't know, I think the week it came out. And for me, I understand Hollywood. A lot of people will think, oh, is Hollywood racist? And no, Hollywood's not necessarily racist, it's business. And the analytics, they follow analytics of what they think is out there, and right or wrong. And wrong to a large degree. So I always put it on our communities to create more projects, because we have to create more systems. Like what I was talking about, like this. The meeting that I started spurred a whole thing called We on the 8th, where it's Asian American creatives come together. The 8th of every month is to promote and to release videos and media the 8th of every month and start to create analytics. The problem was that, especially with the Asian American community, we don't have enough analytics to prove opening a $100 million film they're going, well, what's the last Asian guy was able to pull any money from that? We have to start creating analytics in it and create systems to analyze what's going on. And that's on us to create these systems. That's what we're part of what we're doing right now in Hollywood. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. Question?
Hi. So obviously,
What's your name?
I'm Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
So obviously, Zuko and Jake Long are very different characters. So what were the different challenges in playing both those roles, kind of on the same timeline?
Yeah, we actually did them. I did those shows like at the same time, right? I think I was doing Jake Long on like Thursdays, and I think I was doing Avatar on Tuesdays. But not just me, Mae Whitman also.
She was Rose.
Yeah, so Mae Whitman plays, for people that know the actress, Mae Whitman played Rose in Jake Long, she played Katara in Avatar. So we were like, kind of like dating one of them. I don't know. I don't know, you know, this is the thing, it's like with characters, a lot of times they say the actor stuck with the character and the character stuck with them, so that means that there's a lot of me in those characters, right? But then there's a lot of Jake in me and there's a lot of Zuko in me. So it wasn't really hard. To me, in a lot of ways, there's a similarity between those guys. I mean, fire. Dragons. But it was just like more like, it was like Jake is like the sitcom version, and then Zuko was like the drama. You know, he was like doing a whole dramatic thing, just angsty drama guy.
Oh my God, do you have a favorite line of Zuko's?
There's a lot of fun ones. Do you have a favorite line?
I like "That's rough, buddy."
That's rough, buddy. I love that too. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
My name is John.
What's up, John?
Nothing much. Thank you for
Hanging
coming
out.
to Purdue.
Oh, no doubt. Yo, shout out to the Boilermakers.
So my question, I grew up with Hook, and I actually tried showing my best friends in high school the movie, and they did not, it did not vibe with them at all.
Really? Where are you from?
I'm from Thailand.
Okay.
But I was wondering what it was like to work with Robin Williams.
Yeah, man. Robin Williams. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. Amazing guy. You know, he's a legend. He's a god. He was, for everyone, you know, you guys are all Robin Williams fans, of course. I think we all are. He was everything you thought he would be. Like, he literally is the funniest, most energetic. He's the genie from Aladdin. That's who he is. Like, when you're in the room with Robin, you're working with him, he's the genie on the set. Literally, magical things could happen when he's there. And so that's who he was. And so I got to experience him as that, but then I also got to spend a lot of mornings with him in the makeup trailer, and just as I'm getting my hair done and he's getting his stuff done. So we'd spend so many mornings where he's just soft-spoken, and we'd talk a lot about poetry. Dead Poets Society was one of my favorite films back then, still is now. And so we spent a lot of time talking about poetry. So he's that kind of guy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Claire. This actually leads in perfectly because my question was about poetry. I'm an aspiring poet myself, and I was wondering what advice you have for young poets, whether or not you think there are better places to go seek art, if it's YouTube or open mics or creating blogs, or what advice do you have for people who want to be poets like you?
Yeah, for poets, write. You have to write. You have to live and write about what you live. That's like the formula, right? Go live and then write about it. And then go live and write about it. And then perform it. We talked a lot about it today in the workshop. You just urge the poet to write. If you get to open mics, get to open mics. But just, you try to live your life and digest it. For me, I travel all around the world. I work on all kinds of projects. And if I didn't have poetry, I'd go crazy, because it's like me. These are stories of my life. Who else is going to document your life? I mean, maybe you get famous enough where there's a lot of people documenting you, and that'd be great. But at this point, just live and write, and live and write, and get on the mic and tell your story, and find your voice. I mean, you find your voice as a writer, and then once you start performing, you'll find your voice as a performer, and share your story. Thank you. Hi.
My name is Jackie.
What's up, Jackie?
I just wanted to say that I'm half Mexican, and so
Okay.
my mom's white. And Jake Long was like really important to me as a kid because I didn't realize that there weren't a lot
That's
of
awesome.
mixed families and
Yeah.
cartoons as a kid. So he was really important to me out of all the characters that you play. I love like your whole career, by the way.
But you like Jake Long.
I do like Jake Long.
That's fine.
And so I was just wondering, which character have you played that's the most important to you?
Out of everything? It's about 30 years, Jackie. No, it's hard it's hard to answer that question, like honestly, because it has been a long career, and when I look at roles, right, or look at characters you play, it's sometimes it's less about that actual character because it's the experience. As an artist, doing it is this whole experience, and the people you work with, that's the experience. And so when I watch a movie or I watch a thing I did, you know, as much as you like the performance and the actual thing that came out at the end of it, it's like it's I would say it's like you thumbing through a photo album of your past, right? I'm like, oh my God, I have to call that guy. I haven't seen him in a while. I used to date that girl. Like that kind of stuff, right? Like, damn, what you doing? So it's hard to say like what part of your life is your favorite part of your life, because they're all capsules of like parts of your life. But that being said, they're very important to me. You know, of course, doing a movie like Hook changes your life forever. I mean, you're in Hollywood you play this character which ultimately becomes this iconic character where people are cosplaying at cons and tattooing on their body, your 15-year-old face on their body. You know what I'm saying? You get all those Instagram shots like tagged. I'm like, that's me when you're in the shower, I'm with you. Just keep it clean. That's totally changed my life. I mean, to have your own original Disney character, it's kind of a big deal. I forget about it sometimes, but Disney has like, you have an original Disney character that's yours, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. So I did a film called The Debut, which is this Filipino-American film, which is the first Filipino film ever shot in Hollywood, like to represent for my community in a historical way, and really to see faces and stories of my family on screen was, overfilled with pride, and you know, that's really big and powerful. And then Prince Zuko comes along out of nowhere, and this is also again a genuine iconic character comes out, an iconic show, and it changes your life again. And so I'm just lucky, I guess, you know. But thank you, Jackie. Hi.
Hi, my name's Jennifer.
What's up, Jennifer?
I wanted to ask, sort of going along with the kind of roles that you've done, what's it like being a Wood Scout?
Can. Look at Rooster Teeth people. That's cool. Rooster Teeth's amazing. I play a character on this show on Rooster Teeth called Snake. Call me Snake. It's cool because for people that don't know Rooster Teeth is an MCN, multi-channel network out of Austin, Texas. Gamers and nerds, and they created this whole world. There's just great art, great writing, and those guys are so fun. My biggest thing is when I love getting involved with Rooster Teeth, because Rooster Teeth kind of changed the game. Again, like when you're working in this new world of media, you look for signs of what's happening and how your generation, how they're changing the world and how they're changing how entertainment is being viewed and being fed out there. So one of my biggest things working with Rooster Teeth is they're one of the great companies that got through this whole digital place and made this whole empire, like very in-house. A small group of them created a literal empire, and some people, you guys have no idea what it is, but it's just an MCN, a multi-channel, all these YouTube channels, right? And there ultimately became two different just strategies, and they were one of them. The first strategy is create an MCN, and I'm a part of Maker Studios, and we were doing these things, these videos, and it grew, and Maker grew so large, it ended up getting acquired by Disney, and that's one way, that's the tech way to do it. And what Rooster Teeth is they stumbled into monthly subscriptions, now unlike Netflix, and now that is, when you're building, when we're here trying to build stuff online, that Netflix Rooster Teeth way is the model that we're all trying to get through, to have a user base of, I think they're like over 100,000 now, monthly subscribers, so that's the way to go. So I love working with those guys, and I love being on Camp, so thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Connor.
What's up, Connor?
So I was wondering what it's like for you to see your roles and your work influence other content creators. For example, seeing your character Rufio appear in a cameo in Homestuck.
Homestuck. Man, people Homestuck in there. Yo, shout out to all my Homestucks out there. I saw a few people. It's fascinating. I mean, well, that's like I was talking about before, right? With the Rufio thing, is like being officially a part of pop culture. Like you're a part of pop culture, right? The tattoos and showing up in other worlds. It's just fascinating to me. I mean, in my life, I've been Rufio longer than I haven't been Rufio. I was Rufio when I was 15, and that's when it came out in 1991, and now I'm 42. So now it's like, I've been Rufio a long time. And what does that mean? It just means like, you just walk through the mall and people start chanting, Rufio. It's like, it's kind of cool. It's like being a wrestler. Like you have your own chant. It's weird, though, but it's cool. I get a kick out of it more than anything when I see pop culture things happen about that, But in specific with Homestuck, again, Homestuck's one of those places that kind of taught me a whole thing, because when I first got online, I was working with YouTubers, right? And I'm like talking to Kev Jumba and AJ Raphael, these two Asian YouTubers, and they're like, Dante, you gotta get online. And I'm like, nah, man, I ain't getting online, that's y'all. That's your generation, I ain't online. And Kev Jumba's like, Dante, Google yourself, you're online. It's like, if you don't, and they basically were like trying to tell me, like, if you don't host the conversation about you, you're just leaving it up to whoever to, and other people to just pretend to be you, and they really got me like into it. So I was like, all right, I'll do a Twitter, right? So like, then I open a Twitter, and I'm like, yo, I'm on Twitter, out here, and I think a day or like maybe that day or maybe the next day, some girl named Jean Bean was like, yo, you have to open a Tumblr. I was like, what? I just got Twitter. She was like, no, you need to get on Tumblr, and if you start Tumblr, you'll have 1,000 followers by tonight. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm gonna do what you tell me to do. So I go and sign on, and I make a Tumblr, and I'm like, yo, I'm on Tumblr. And she was right. By that night, I had 1,000 followers on Tumblr. So the next day, or maybe the day after, I don't know, it happened so fast, right? My inbox gets filled up with all these people and these pictures of Rufio with horns and all kinds of stuff. And like, probably 100 people said, you need to read Homestuck. And and this is what it is, you're a student of the game. You're like, student of digital. I'm like, I don't even know what this is, but I'm gonna read Homestuck. Because you guys are yelling at me to read this damn thing. And I start reading Homestuck, and I'm like live blogging me reading Homestuck. And then my Tumblr grows to like 250,000 people following me read Homestuck. And if you guys don't know what Homestuck is, who doesn't know what Homestuck is? All right, I'm gonna just talk about it a little bit. I must sound crazy. Because it makes you sound crazy, because I'm not 100% sure what it's about either, and I've read it all. It's about these like 4 kids trying to save the world, but then there's like 12 trolls that come, and then there's other time like continuums, and everyone has different beta alpha stuff going on, and there's See, the more you talk about it, the more you sound crazy. And what I didn't know is it was for a while never ending. As over 8,000 pages, it screwed up my reading for a long time. So anyway, in the middle of it, and I forgot as I was reading it, and everyone's commenting back and reposts on Tumblr, and I'm going, what am I reading? And then one night I was drinking a glass of wine, and I'm reading, and then Rufio shows up. I'm like, oh yeah, Rufio's in this. That's why they want me to read this. And there's like this really crudely drawn picture of me. Horrible, actually. And then the author, Andrew Hussey, shows up like floating in like a Peter Pan outfit. I'm just telling everybody who's not a Homestuck, doesn't know. Everyone who's a Homestuck knows what happened. And I'm drinking the wine, and then, then I get killed. And then he comes in, I think he's gonna give me CPR, but then he kisses me. It's super weird. The whole thing is weird. And then the author, because I'm live blogging the whole thing, right? And so he ends up creating another troll that is me in Homestuck, which is the Rufio troll that uses all my typing quirks and the way I talk to people online, but he's talking to people inside the Homestuck world. It's just, as we talk more now, now we're both crazy. Why did you bring this up in front of all these people? No, shout out to all the Homestucks. You'll all see the game soon. High Swap dropping soon. Okay, thank you.
Hi,
Maddie.
My question was actually along a similar vein about Homestuck.
Oh my God, there's so many Homestucks in Purdue! No one wore horns or nothing.
I heard talk from someone who was with you at the LGBTQ Center, and that you were somehow involved with Hive Swap, like in any capacity, like just talking to people.
They'll kill me if I say anything. No, I worked for What Pumpkin for like a year, so I've been around them, creating consulting and whatnot, and helping out with creating stuff that will be coming out in the future. So the game is real. It's beautiful. I've seen it, I've smelled it, touched it, and it's coming soon. Sooner than we may know. There's rumors that it's coming super soon. Super soon. But we'll see. We don't know, we'll see. It looks good though.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Krista.
Hi, Krista.
I'm not.
No. It feels like it though, right? We all are messed up.
So I know you touched on this earlier, but I was curious as to what your perspective was on racial diversity in Hollywood compared to the university during your career and now, and how social media as a platform for activism is that helping any or?
Good question. I love talking about. I started that in my keynote. I'm glad I got to hear during the Q&A because obviously it's better today than it was, in years past, as things should be, as they should progress. We were in a time where just people were dressing up as other people in other ethnicities and just, okay, we're just gonna accept that as cool. But not only that, it's just the stories are important, I created We On The 8th is to help promote and help to inspire the next generation of content creators to create more content, because the way to really win the only way to win or to get through this is for us to be making more product. For ourselves, for each other. It's like we have to outproduce what's Hollywood's doing, because Hollywood is a business machine. It's gonna run on business numbers always. But for us to change it, we have to change the business models. And we've seen that to a certain degree in the African American scene with Tyler Perry, what Tyler Perry has done, what Jordan Peele has done. You can influence it, but you have to also understand that, how does that happen? Like, I'll come to a school right now, right? And a young actor, Asian American Pacific Islander guy will come to me, or a girl, guy will come to me, he's like, I want to be the first Asian Will Smith. And it's happened several times. And you look at it and you're like, wow, that's what you should feel. You want that, that's great. I also will tell you this about Will Smith. You understand, when Will Smith came up in the 90s, Will Smith was a famous rapper, right? Platinum artist, traveled the country, he's a bona fide star. He wins the first Grammy ever for a rapper. First Grammy in the history of the Grammys for rap Will Smith wins it. He then goes from that to starring in his own TV show on NBC produced by Quincy Jones for 7 years, right? And then after that ends, they take a chance on him, and they put him to star in an action film called Independence Day, and he becomes a bona fide movie star, and the rest is history. But before that, African Americans have been making product in America for over 100 years, right? They were from the juke joints, created music, created jazz and R&B, which ultimately became rock and roll. Rock and roll became pop music, created hip hop. In the 90s, when Will Smith's coming up, hip hop overtakes rock and roll as pop music. Then the Will Smith stuff happens. So I talked to the Asian American kid like, we got a lot of catching up to do. You should have that feeling if you want to be the Will Smith, the Asian Will Smith, but we as a community have to create more. We have to create more films, create more music, create more of everything. And on us is not always waiting for the system, the studio, to fund it. We have to create self-sustainable, viable products on our own to impact the system. And that's what We Own the 8th is about, inspiring at the low level and then creating systems. And we're in the midst of raising $20 million right now to create an Asian American Netflix, so we can start creating a minor league almost. I mean, African Americans, it's not the perfect system, but they have a system where they're putting out 6 to 10 movies a year, produced by them, creating stars. Those stars that will cross over, but there's still people making movies. We need to make more movies. We need to make more television. And not just in front of the camera. We need the actors to get more training in front of the camera. We need more directors. We need more writers. We need more crew people created, because the only way you get better at anything, especially the art of filmmaking, is to make more films. And we're just not making enough right now. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. So thank you for the question.
Can I ask one more thing?
Yes.
What do you think of Zootar?
I'm the captain of that ship. What's up? Good.
Name is Miracle.
What's up, Miracle? We met earlier.
We did, briefly. So first of all, I want to thank you for the platform that you've given minorities, especially POC minorities.
Yes.
I think it really means a lot to a lot of us. Watching you do that meant me, so I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So my question is, like, with the rise of the Fourth Reich in America.
Wow, you're going hard right now.
I'm doing it. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that intersectionality is a very important part of all of us.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard, especially for me being a Black LGBT person, trying to switch between spaces, in LGBT space and a Black American space. What do you think, as American yourself, a POC American, that we can do now, since the future is in our hands, to make sure that everyone feels included and to try and eliminate any type of disdain for intersection?
Yeah, ultimately we just have to, I go back to creating product, creating media, create art, have your voice being heard, because it's more of your person, right? And I wrote a blog about this, about the Asian American, the Asian leading man. And people are like, why do you care? Why do we care about Asian leading man? I go, this is the deal. You have to understand that when an audience goes sees a movie, right? The audience is the leading man. That's what we're doing. We are Chris Pratt. We are the audience as a whole. That's who we are. We follow the story of that person. And it just so happens that in the history of Hollywood, the story is about a white man. Like 95, like in the history of Hollywood, it's like 95% about a white man. Not even women, like usually white men. And so, as white men, we've saved the world. We've fell in love. We've got our hearts broken. We've walked with them in their footsteps through all these events. And that's why in a lot of ways we can put 5 white guys on stage and we can tell you the smallest of details and differences between a Brad Pitt and a Johnny Depp and name it, just name, but we tell exactly the differences, and then you can put 5 black guys on stage and be like, same guy. 5 Asian guys, different Asian races, like they're pretty much the same thing, right? No, because we know them like that, and they don't know us like that. They don't know us at all like that. We have to keep telling these stories, putting out these movies, these TV shows, telling the stories. When we can walk in each other's footsteps and save the world with each other and understand that there's actually more, we're more human to each other through these storytelling than we know it's possible. And that's ultimately the importance of us to continue getting our voices out there and sharing our stories, because the connection will happen once we understand, because we identify with them a lot. We know them very well. They need to know us a little bit better, and it's on us to tell our stories. Thank you. Miracle got deep up in here for a second. What's up? I don't know how much longer we can go. We were supposed to do like an hour thing. We'll go a little longer. We'll go like till 7:45, and then maybe we can do just a little meet and greet after if anybody wants to take a picture or something. There you go. I know one person that wants to. So we'll go for like another 10 minutes. So what's going on?
My name's Josh.
What's up, Josh?
I was wondering if you still did breakdance.
I mean, once a B-boy, always a B-boy. I can still get down. I mean, if you catch me in the club, there's a thing about dancers, like dancers know dancers. You know what I'm saying? So I've hitting some ciphers. I can still hit a cipher.
You be down in cypher today?
Do it.
Damn, you got slippers on and shit.
Hey, I don't need shoes.
No, I mean, I don't know about today. Maybe at the bar later. You know what I'm saying?
It's a club meeting at 9:30.
Oh, really? Y'all getting down? I mean, we'll see. Can't promise anything, but just maybe. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
So my question was, what have been some of your greatest personal challenges that you've faced, and how do you deal with those?
Challenges, I try not to think about them most of the time. Because if you think about it, you're in trouble. Like, when people, when they come to Hollywood, I mean, like I said, I was talking to someone earlier, it's like, you're 1,000,000 to 1 odds. Like, that, you don't want to think about that, right? I always tell people that come and work in Hollywood that want to take the risk and live the life of the artist. It's a lifestyle, it's not a job. Don't think of the negative stuff, because you're going to scare yourself to death. So it's not like I'm not aware of things, but I don't focus on because it doesn't do me any good. So I really do think, like, if I really thought about it, it would just scare the out of me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are you doing? You're like this Filipino actor. I mean, even to this day, there's like no jobs for you in particular. And it's like, you understand that you're just gonna have to go into every room and change their mind. Everybody. But I also think of it in a realistic way. It's like, as hard as it is for me to do something, as a POC, a person of color in Hollywood, and the odds are against me, it's just as hard as all my white friends that are in Hollywood trying to make it. And, there's competition out there. Everyone has it. It's hard for everybody. So, I guess I don't know. Everything's challenging. But the biggest thing, when I'm like really down and tripping on myself, is that what you're asking? Like when I'm like super depressed, which we all get there. We get there. I get there all the time. Not all the time, once a year. What I do, I drive to the beach in the middle of the night. I don't know if there's any beaches around here. No. But I live in LA, so I go to the beach, I just sit on the beach by myself in the middle of the night, and I look at the waves that come in, and I remind myself that these waves have been coming into this beach way before I was here, and way after I'm gonna be gone. And I look at the stars and all this damn sand, and it's like, I'm just a piece of sand up in this joint, That's all. It's like, just take care of your problems. It's not as big as you think it is. That's at the end of the day. It's like, it's not as crazy as you think your challenges are. The more you live, the more you meet people, it's like you see people with way bigger challenges, accomplishing things, and you just remind yourself, like, I'm just the sand in this, that's gonna be all right. So I just try to put stuff in perspective for myself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. You have a library there in your hand. You have some tales that you want to share.
Yeah, I just bought this right before the show. Just rushed to Walmart.
Really?
Prince Zuko's coming to town. I need to get something for him to sign.
I will sign that for you afterwards, for sure.
I would assume. Not that
I love this guy.
There's been rumors about a new Avatar series that's going to be premiering on Netflix. I think it's being called like Avatar: The Twin Destinies, Twin Paths, something. Do you know anything, like any information I've heard, any like news about that?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it, but I haven't heard anything. I don't know. You know, I could. Want me to call somebody? No, I see Mike and Brian. You know, we have lunch a lot, so I can ask them what's going on. I know they're working on other stuff, but I'm sure they're gonna get back to Avatar. Avatar's too big of a show for them not to kind of pick up sooner or later.
Well, apparently Nick didn't think that when they put it all online instead of on TV.
I know, well, a lot of people feel that way, right? But what happened, I try to explain to, so a lot of the cats that have that same attitude is that it's actually think differently because the world is going online. And what Nickelodeon is a little ahead of the curve, but what everyone's doing is they're trying to get as much real estate online as possible. So everyone's trying to bring their biggest shows online because in 5 years, it's all online. So actually, it's where I was telling people like we should feel honored. We're the first IP that they brought online solely because that's again, this is your guys' world. This is where the world's going. It's the world's changed. All the rules are different now.
Well, when you put it like that.
Yeah. I don't know that. I don't work on that side of the department.
Well, they had to pay for more SpongeBob episodes somehow.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, Avatar's an anomaly even for Nickelodeon. You know, when I first got Avatar, you got to realize they sent me the script. I'm doing the thing at Disney, and they sent me the script, go over to Nickelodeon, right? And you're like, okay. And they give me this script, and it's like this anime-inspired, epic Asian adventure. I got this bald-headed, ponytail, scarred dude talking about honor and stuff, and it's like, and I walk into Nickelodeon, and especially Nickelodeon campus at that time is this big white building in Burbank, and it has Double Dare slime all over it, right?
I think they removed those.
Yeah, it's gone now, right? But that time it had Double Dare slime, and then you walk in, there's like all these big murals of SpongeBob and like Cat Dog, right? And then I look at this script, and I'm like, yeah, this ain't Nickelodeon. They're tripping. I really didn't think the show was gonna go. So, surprise for everybody. Thank you. Two more questions.
Hi, my name is Naman.
Naman, what's up?
So I'm identify as a queer Asian American. So me and my other Asian American friends, both queer and non-queer, often talk about our experiences where we kind of come face to face with our identity. So be it situations like racism or discrimination or something positive.
Right.
So do you have any distinct situations, like you're obviously in the media and have run into that more often than most, but do you have any like defining moments there?
We, as a person of color in America, we all have stories. We all have been through that, you know? And it's something that you just kind of take for granted that we've all been there. There's a moment when I would say every person of color that grew up in America may recall the first moment when they realized they weren't white. The first moment at a young age when you're like, oh, I'm not white. I mean, whether it's a good or bad thing, you're just like, oh my God, I'm not white. Steven's white and I'm not. And I remember having that realization and you're going, wow, what does that mean? What am I? Because as a kid, you don't really ultimately think in color and race. And then there comes a time in your life where you're like, oh, I'm not like them. I'm with them, but I'm not exactly like them, right? But as far as like negative things, I grew up in black and Mexican neighborhoods mostly, so that's another different thing, right? So growing up in the hood, if you're black or Mexican, is rough. If you're growing up in the hood as you're Asian, it's a whole other dynamic. And you gotta learn how to kind of fit in, how you're gonna fit in. But I don't know, there's this thing, I've been very fortunate in who I was, and also very fortunate from coming from a big family. So I have 5 brothers and sisters. I never went to school a day alone in my life. I've always had a brother in front of me and a brother in back of me. So we didn't succumb to a lot of the peer pressures that a lot of people were, and we were a breakdancing crew. So that helped us out also. I don't know why it did, but we were just good dancers. I don't know. We all overcome that. I deal with ethnicity every day because I'm an actor in Hollywood. So we know as actors, we know as Americans, you cannot hire or fire anybody based on what they look like, sexual orientation. We know, like the basic American stuff, except in Hollywood. In Hollywood, you're not even getting, you can't, the whole thing about Hollywood is when they release breakdowns, this is the call out for characters, they're telling you, you have to be black to come in for this role. You have to be, whatever to come in for this role. And the irony is when you read them, it's like black, Asian, Latino, right? And if they don't say anything, it's just assumed they're white. They're just white. You're like, wow, it's crazy. So I deal with that on an everyday basis. I don't. You stop thinking about it as much. You just understand, like, how do we? It's just assumed. What my whole team has always assumed, like, there's no role written for Dante. Dante's just gonna go in and get that role. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to go. My whole thing is always, and maybe it's just being a person of color or Asian in America. It's like you're always taught, like, you have to be better than everybody else. Like, you have to work harder than everybody else. You have to be better than everybody else. That's just how. That's your best chance at winning. And so, that's all I can say. Thank you. Last question, and then I'm gonna stick around for a little meet and greet. I can say hi just individually. Okay? Cool. What's your name?
Rohan.
Rohan, what's up?
What's up? I had, well, first of all, thank you for being Prince Zuko.
I appreciate
That's
it.
Nickelodeon's not too
Is that a Supreme tank top?
Deftones tank top.
Oh, Deftones.
Yeah.
Well, that's Supreme, no?
Yeah, it says Deftones.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. My question was, and it does have to do with music. Have you ever considered being a rapper? Or have you ever dabbled with it?
Yeah, I had a band for like over 10 years in LA. If you look online, we were like, before like the internet, we was pretty hot, me and my brothers. We were the Basco brothers, but before that, like originally we were like the Brown Boys, and then people were like, wow, kind of brown, yeah, like Asian but brown, like confusing.
I could qualify that.
Yeah, see also, like, we thought you were Mexican, but you guys are like, what are you? And then we became the Fly Brown Dragons. That was dope.
That's pretty lit.
That was fun. That was like during the Wu-Tang era. And then we just became the Basco brothers. So I toured around LA and Cali for like a decade with my brothers. So I love music. I still love music. Writing poetry and my connection to music is really big. I grew up in the hip-hop generation, and I was a b-boy. Like, that's how I got into entertainment, and through music and dance. And even though my career took off as an actor, and now I write, produce, as well as act, I still consider myself a hip-hop artist. It's just that's the direction I went. The culture of hip-hop is what I grew up in, and that's my vernacular, and that's my outlook on in the world. It's really influenced me as an artist, so I still consider myself a hip-hop artist.
Awesome, that's amazing. Hey, one real request. My friend Megan's a huge fan. Could you give her a quick shout out?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yo, Megan, what's up? My name is Dante, and I just want to say hello because your boy Rohan told me to give you a shout out.
Alright, yeah, you're welcome.
Yo, I'm here. Purdue, I just want to thank you guys so much for staying and hanging out and having this conversation with me. Thank you again to ARC, and thank you for the LGBTQ Culture Center for bringing me out. Thank you guys so much.